welke bouwschrift.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March. That's all I can say this morning. It is cold here in upstate New York, the Albany, Saratoga area. Got in my car up towards Saratoga, -5 according to the thermometer on the dashboard. By the time I got to Albany, though, it warmed up to a toasty 0, so I had that going for me. But it's cold today. But you can stay warm in your house and enjoy action this afternoon here on Capital OTB TV via Capital OTB Bet. Actually, the action will start in the morning. And let's get into that a little bit with the weather. First of all, I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us Racing Across America this morning. But with that crazy storm, there's really hitting a wide swath of the country, and it started down in the south. We won't really see the results of that storm until, in our area, until tomorrow morning, it sounds like. But there are cold temperatures, and that's affecting tracks as well. So there's some snow to consider. There's cold weather, and I think the cold weather is hitting New York today. Aqueduct had canceled a couple days ago for Sunday, expecting the snow. But I think with the cold temperatures, they came out yesterday and canceled for today as well. So there's no Aqueduct today or tomorrow. The Sunday card gets moved to Wednesday, so there will be Wednesday action in New York. But no Aqueduct today or tomorrow. Today, no Turfway, no Charlestown. Hawthorne Harness canceled, as did Laurel. Miami Valley and Northfield also canceled. That means all eyes, or many eyes, will be on Gulfstream Park, which will juice up that Rainbow Six. Gulfstream Park today, mandatory in the Rainbow Six. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, Gulfstream has an 11 a.m. first post. That's why we're a little early this morning. I checked in, according to the folks down there, their pregame show will start at about 9:45. So we'll wrap up and get us there in time for their pregame. So again, nice Pegasus Day card down there with a lot of stakes. And we talked about that with our two guests. Did some interviews yesterday, actually. Talked to Tom Bellhouse from West Point Thoroughbreds. Wanted to get Tom's thoughts because West Point has 3 runners on the Gulfstream card today, a couple in stakes, so we're talking about those. But also, West Point won an Eclipse Thursday night with Super Corridora. So we hit on that. And also got some updates on some other nice, interesting West Point runners, including Reagan's Honor, the nice 3-year-old maiden breaker last week down at Fairgrounds. All of that coming up with Tom. And we also talked to Randy Moss, NBC Sports. NBC and Randy will be down at the Pegasus today, covering the Pegasus and the Pegasus Turf. We talked about those races. Also got some Eclipse thoughts from Randy as well. So let's get into it. Again, got to have it wrapped up a little early with the early post at Gulfstream. So we'll head to a quick break. And when we come back, Tom Bellhouse, and then a little bit later on, Randy Moss. Stay tuned.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park. Great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Think horse racing is too complicated? Think again.
And
They're off.
Every pro was a newbie once. Meet DRF Newbie, the mobile tool loaded with daily racing form data and the power of DRF AI. Get the insights you need fast so you can play smarter and feel more confident. DRF Newbie, horse racing made simple. Try it free today. Visit newbie.drf.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Happy to be joined now by our friend Tom Bellhouse. I invited him on to talk about the runners he has on with West Point on the Pegasus card. And when we emailed back and forth, he said, well, I hope when we're talking, we're celebrating. I didn't want to jinx things. Sent out the email on Thursday afternoon. They were at the Eclipse Awards Thursday night. We're taping on Friday, and they did pick up an Eclipse with Super Corridor. Tom, good morning and congratulations.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Seth. A real memorable, special night for everyone at West Point Thoroughbreds to have a juvenile champion, a horse that we had, a filly that we had bought as a yearling, been through our program with Doc Eisenman down in Ocala, shipped out to John Sadler as a young 2-year-old, and really a horse that didn't exactly have the most auspicious debut to start her career, but improved. And then when she stretched out 2 turns, broke her maiden, came back. And, John, all credit goes to John, Juan Leyva, the groom. They do a great job with this filly. And he, it was afterwards, like we were thinking maybe the Starlet. And, John said, well, let's see how she comes out. Maybe we'll take a swing at the Breeders' Cup. And obviously this wouldn't have happened if she had been based in New York or in Kentucky, but she was already out there. And sure enough, he worked her a week after that race. She worked phenomenal, and she had run a great number in her maiden race. So you're always afraid maybe there'd be a bounce or such, but we took the swing, and John, John, he gave the green light and said, let's do it. And, she had run well over Del Mar, so we knew that she could handle the surface, and it's a short ship from Santa Anita. And lo and behold, his track was a little speed favoring that day. She got out on the lead and turned it for home. We saw Bob Baffert coming, and we're like, oh, no. Explorer, wonderful filly that ran second to us. But, it was just a huge special day for not only the Super Corridor partners, Seth, but all the West partners in general. To have a filly, win in our silks. We've won Breeders' Cup races, a number of them before, but we've never won one in our silks. And it really was something that the whole partnership in general, all the partners felt very proud of. And to have a filly now that is a 2-year-old champion, and our whole team, basically the majority of our team being down at the awards last night, it's just something I'll never forget. It was a special feeling. And if you've never been to the Eclipse Awards, there's a genuine, wonderful feeling in the room where everybody is just congratulating everybody else. To be there and watch Bill Mott speak and talk about his assistance and having sovereignty. I was choked up. Sean Clancy won a Eclipse Award, and he gave a wonderful speech talking about his family and how it was his horse was a horse his dad would have loved, and just amazing and a feel good type of night. And we're still on cloud 9.
And Skip won for the photography.
Well, Skip Dickstein's brilliance. We all know, anybody who lives in the upstate New York area and follows racing knows that he's a brilliant photographer. But I would say that particular photo over the summer that we saw, I think every one of us saw that photo and said, that's the Eclipse Award. That's a once in a career photo. And Skip does it like it's just another day in the office.
Yeah. No, it was fun to watch. It was fun to see you up on the stage and, the whole West Point team. And again, a horse I have the auction page here. You bought the horse, and and there was a sibling that hadn't raced yet, and that horse has come out, subsequently won a couple of starts, but you hadn't had any siblings to go by at that point. But by Gun Runner, jumped in and got one and got the.
And let's face it, I mean, she was not inexpensive, but she was a modest price for a Gun Runner.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we talked to Doc Eisman, who broke her, and we reached out and we said, Doc, did you know? And he goes, oh, I thought she was okay, but he goes, no, I think she'd be the 2-year-old champ? No, I won't say that, but once she hit that, stretched out and went to the 2 turns, she turned into a different horse.
We were talking before and you mentioned it. It was a tough category because you had to get past Sci-Fair.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Sci-Fair is, George Weaver, and a very, very talented filly. And it seemed like everywhere I went on social media, the pundits were all picking Sci-Fair, which, listen, when you have one of your own trainers have another horse in the category, you're just trying to be respectful. And George's and his team are phenomenal. And again, I wish we owned Sci-Fair. She's a great filly, but we were thrilled that it ended up being a solid victory for Super Corridor and for us to have a champion 2-year-old.
Yeah, again, congratulations to you and the team. It was fun to watch some folks I root for normally get up there and accept the award last night. So congratulations there. Let's sit on some more. We'll get on your Pegasus card runners in a moment, but wanted to go back to last weekend. Did our Derby preview show earlier today, and we're recording on Friday. Did it with Jeremy Plonk. And I asked about Reagan's Honor winning on the undercard of the Lecomte. Second career start, stretched out. We'll see Reagan's Honor here, the number 7. Nice performance for the Cherie DeVaux runner. What were your thoughts last weekend, the win, Reagan's Honor?
I mean, it was just another 2-year-old turning 3, stretching out and taking a step forward. And Cherie had a monster day on Lecomte day, running 1-2. But the whole card was littered with up-and-comers, fillies and colts that there was a couple maiden races that in my mind I'm thinking we're seeing 3 stakes horses in that each one, but for Reagan's Honor to being by Honor AP, which is a sire we're very high on. David Ngordo, our bloodstock agent, has been, and Cherie DeVaux's husband, has been involved with Honor AP since day one. So he's a big believer in that stallion. This is a horse that hopefully ran numbers that should be pretty close to what was going on that day. And whether we go to an allowance race or we look to find a spot to take a next step up in the stakes company, and where we fit in the whole Derby picture, then now's the time of year where we find these things out, Seth. And Honor AP in general has been very good to us. We have a filly named Counting Stars that with Mark Cassey, who's won 2 stakes in a row at Oaklawn, is going to run again at the end of the month. So, we have 2 Honor APs and both are looking very, very strong going forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Counting Stars, the Cassie trainee, certainly one to watch as well. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned Honor AP because when I brought this up with Jeremy Plonk earlier, he specifically mentioned, he said, the year Honor AP was running, I was high on that horse, and he likes the Honor APs as well. So going to be fun to watch Reagan's Honor going forward. All right, let's jump in and get some thoughts on the Pegasus card. You have some horses running in the 3rd race. It's an optional claimer going a mile, optional claimer with the C condition. Battle of Normandy, nice runner for you and the West Point folks throughout the career. 14 starts, 5 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Well over $600,000. Hasn't been seen in a long time, though. This one has been on the sidelines a little bit over a year at this point. What are your expectations on Saturday for Battle of Normandy?
I mean, on numbers alone, he fits really well in this as a return race. But it's a salty group of allowance horses. Listen, he's had some setbacks a couple different times, but he's a horse that's been very good to us. I don't know if you realize he's also a half brother to Cugino, who's going to run in. They're half brothers, and that family has been extremely good to us, as you would imagine. But Shug has always been very high on Battle of Normandy. I think that this will be a good starting spot. On class alone, he might be able to to just get it done off the layoff, but there is a group of good salty allowance horses, those high-level claiming, optional claimer types that this time of year, you better have your running shoes on if you're going to come back against them.
Yeah, it is absolutely a salty spot for the return, but we'll be watching Battle of Normandy early in the card. A little bit later on in stake section, the McKnight 1.5 on the grass. You have Ohana Honor in here. I pulled up a replay of the Knickerbocker back in November, at Aqueduct. Nice win for Ohana Honor. Flavian Pratt was on board that day, scheduled to be on board again Saturday. Your thoughts on Ohana Honor and the McKnight?
Yeah, I think Pratt being on board, Ohana Honor gave Shug the confidence of let's go for it and take a shot. I think they've debated over time what is his optimal distance. Is it the marathon types or is it a little shorter? We've been very blessed. We've won the McKnight twice over the years, and to have Ohana Honor in there, and he looks like he fits in there. I know there's a couple horses. Mike Maker seems to own this division, the turf marathon races. But I think that he fits nicely, and having Pratt is obviously a massive bonus.
And that was fun last night. That category, you could have gone either way. The jockey category, but Flavian gets the award. He gave a nice speech too.
He did, and it's funny you mentioned the jockey candidate. Obviously, 3 legends, but the apprentice category as well. Any other year, any of those 3 guys would have stood out. I mean, Pietro Moran, for those of us, you and I, who follow Woodbine a little bit, we know how dominant he's been. Hazelwood is just cleaned up down in the Mid-Atlantic. And then Chris Elliott, who's, after he lost his bug, has stayed in New York and has been a solid improving rider.
I said exactly the same thing. I said the resume on any of those 3 is good enough to do it. I went with Pietro. We were, as we normally do after Saratoga, popped up for Woodbine Mile weekend. I had an interview with him up there. It was fun to talk, but he wound up second in the standings up at, the long season up at Woodbine. But as I say, I thought any of the 3 were legit. All right, let's move on. Take a look at the Pegasus World Cup Turf. You have Cagino in here, the aforementioned Cagino. I pulled up a replay of the Red Smith going back to early November. We'll watch a win from Cagino, be the number 5 horse here. Subsequently, a good second in the Fort Lauderdale down at Gulfstream. But what are your thoughts on Cagino?
I think, first of all, Cagino is one of the coolest horses we've ever had. Yeah. I mean, we had him as a baby. He got a little sick on us, and he came back. And every time Cagino wins, it seems like there's an objection or something. And every race, it's hysterical. But he's just a really fun, hard-trying horse. I think losing that day in the Lauderdale to Wolfie's Dynagos was no disgrace. Wolfie's Dynagos was at the top of his game, and I think the turf course playing a little quirky that day towards speed, and Wolfie got out there, and Cagino just couldn't reel him in. And going forward, I'd like to think we'll be tactfully forwardly placed. Johnny V picks up the mount, which, if you can't get Pratt or Irad, there's nobody better. I want Hall of Famer, especially long on the grass. Johnny is a master. I mean, I joke with people in Saratoga when you're handicapping races, you see Johnny on a horse going long on the grass, you almost got to stop and look at it 3 times because he's just always going to have the horse in the right position. I think it's an evenly matched field. I know the favorite, the Chad Brown horse, is a nice horse, but I wouldn't say that he towers over the field.
No.
Like last year, he had, I think, Spirit of St. Louis beat us when we had Integration in this race. But we've run a lot of horses in this race, and we've come close. But hopefully we can get over the hump tomorrow.
Tom, we got about a minute left, but I just want a little update. Sandman and Ewing, they're both working down at Oaklawn, and looking at your website, the West Point Thoroughbred website. Looks like they have some scheduled races potentially coming up in February, but give us a little update. Haven't seen Ewing since the nice season up at Saratoga. The stakes went up at Saratoga. Sandman, of course, the Arkansas Derby winner last year. Give us a quick update.
Yeah, a very exciting time to get them both back going. I think the Razorback will probably be the longer-term goal for Sandman. Ewing, I think Mark has said he's going to bring him back in the Ozark one turn and then decide, is he going to take a shot going 2 turns with him, or maybe he's a Pat Day mile horse for us on Derby Day type thing. But both of them are doing extremely well. Both were at Mark's farm in Ocala, getting leg back up, and then went to Oaklawn. And, Mark Cassie's been firing like nobody's business. I think I looked it up. He had won something like 2/3 of his starts down in Oaklawn. It's just been amazing. Mark's, he won the Smarty Jones. He just really has a great stable down there. So we're excited to get them both back and hopefully have a great 3-year-old campaign for Ewing and older 4-year-old campaign for the Sandman.
Yeah, looking forward to both of them coming back again off nice seasons last year. Tom, appreciate the visit. And again, good luck tomorrow, but congratulations on the Eclipse Award last night as well. And we'll talk again.
Thanks, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Very good.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Happy to be joined now by Randy Moss. They are on site for the Pegasus on Saturday down at Gulfstream, part of the first tour of racing, kicking off a nice series of races that will include the Holy Bull, Fountain of Youth. We'll be down for the Fountain of Youth, Capital OTB TV, Florida Derby, Santa Anita Derby, Black Eyed Susan, Preakness, and whatnot. But kicking it off with the Pegasus, Randy, good morning.
Good morning. I know you can't tell I'm on site, Seth. You'll have to take my word for it. There's no palm trees in the background. This is just my hotel room right here. But yeah, I'm ready.
I did look at the weather, and compared to what we're facing up here, it looks like Saturday is going to be very nice down there.
Well, I live in suburban Minneapolis, where right now it is 20 below zero with a 30 below zero wind chill. So Jerry Bailey was teasing me this morning that there's a 100-degree temperature difference between where I was this morning on the backside at Gulfstream Park and where I live back in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. And get back home safely, too, with the crazy storm that's coming up. But no weather worries down in Florida. And how long have you been there bouncing around the backstretch? And is there any buzz on anybody on the backstretch?
We did most of our work on the phone. There's nothing real, earth-shattering that we've discovered here or anything like that. Matticat Road is a late dropout. I don't know if you get that information or not for the Pegasus World Cup. I don't know if Bob Baffert was that crazy about running him anyway, but he is not going to be in the race. So it takes a little bit of the speed out in what still, I think, should be a fairly honestly paced race.
And I meant to ask you at the top, but we're taping on Friday. So last night, the Eclipse Awards, anything jump out at you? I thought it was there were some categories that were clearly slam dunks. There were some categories that were a little bit interesting, but even the interesting categories, it was between 2 or 3. So I don't know that there was any surprises yesterday. Sovereignty is the slam dunk case. All the first place votes for the 3-year-old male. I thought maybe an interesting thing was Ted Noffey didn't get all the first place votes for the 2-year-old. But anything stand out the Eclipse Awards?
Yeah, the one surprise to me, Seth, and in hindsight, the more I think about it, I know what happened, was Forever Young being named the champion older dirt male with only one start in the United States. And I think what happened is that one start in the U.S. in calendar year 2025. What happened, I think, is that most of the voters split between fierceness and Sierra Leone. A lot of the voters did. And so by splitting the votes there, there were a bunch of other people that just, because Forever Young won the Breeders' Cup Classic, they voted for him. And I think that's why he wound up getting it. But that was a little bit of a surprise to me.
That was a tough category. I went with Nisos, and I wasn't thrilled about that. And I knew I was kind of on the outside looking in there. And I my own personal rule, I like to see more than one start in the United States. Yeah. So I couldn't pull the trigger. The irony of that with Forever Young, he was named the Japanese Horse of the Year, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he only had one start in Japan.
Good point. Good point. I didn't think about that. He was in Saudi Arabia. He was in Dubai. And he had the one start in Japan before the Breeders' Cup. Good point.
So they didn't hold that rule over there, but
I guess not.
Understandably. And then the human categories were kind of interesting. Bill Mott gets it after the good year with Sovereignty, and Flavien Prat and Irad. That was an interesting category. And Flavien, when the votes were put out last night, Flavien was kind of clearly the winner there. So that was surprising. And I thought all 3 apprentice jockeys had resumes that you could have made a case for. So good night last night for the racing industry.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be an interesting vote for trainer. Very seldom, I think. I haven't gone back and looked at this, but so many people just automatically vote for the leading money earner as champion jockey and champion trainer. And Brad Cox was the leading money earner among trainers. But Mott, obviously, I mean, he had a sensational year with not only Sovereignty, but winning the Breeders' Cup Distaff as well. So, certainly can't complain about that. And Flavien had so much success in graded and grade 1 stakes races that even though it was a very narrow win for Flavien in terms of money won, I believe, I thought he was a pretty solid choice.
Yeah, they were separated by $1,600, and they both Irad did it a few weeks before, but they went over $40 million, which was a new threshold for jockeys. And Irad went over, and a couple of weeks later, sooner than that, Flavien went over, but they were separated by that much in that category. It was fun. Like I say, fun night last night, certainly. All right, let's jump in and take a look at some of the Pegasus action. We'll start things out. The Pegasus World Cup Turf, Grade 1 event, $1 million up for grabs, 1 mile and an eighth. To me, it's an interesting race, and I wanted to pull up some replays. And there weren't a lot of horses in here coming out of wins. They've had mixed bags. I tilted towards Program Trading. I think this is a talented horse for Chad Brown that is going to be very competitive in here, but only one win over the past couple of seasons. Relatively lightly raced. It's Chad and Klarovich. I tilt there slightly. But a horse I found interesting, and I pulled up a replay here, the Seabiscuit back in November, out at Del Mar, the number 4 horse, Call Sign 7, 15-1 on the morning line coming out of this win for Mike McCarthy, I think is interesting. Graham Motion with the horse that started the career in South Africa, One Stripe, brings in the South African jockey for that, for the race on Saturday. That horse is interesting. Cagino, just talked to Tom Bellhouse from West Point Thoroughbreds. I think Cagino on the outside, the post position towards the outside, might not be a bonus, but how did you see the turf?
Yeah, I mean, I think those horses all have legitimate chances to win. The interesting thing about Call Sign 7, I think he was 68-1 when he won the Seabiscuit. Yeah. He was completely overlooked in that race. And Michael McCarthy, the trainer, had tried, by his count, 5 different allowance races for the horse. He didn't really plan on running in the Seabiscuit. That was more like, plan C or plan D, but he couldn't get him in any other race. None of the allowance races filled. So as in sort of a desperation move, because the horse needed to run, let's stick him in the Seabiscuit. And, I asked him, I said, he lost his house in the wildfires and he's just moving back in and getting new furniture. And I said, hey, I hope you bet on this horse at 68-1. They can pay for a lot of new furniture. And he said, no, I didn't. I would have bet on him in an allowance race, but I didn't bet on him in the Seabiscuit. But the horse has got a lot of talent. He could get a beautiful rail trip in there. Did have to maneuver a little bit down the stretch, duck back to the inside. But the fact that he was able to save ground on both turns, I think what I do, at least in most of my handicapping, is that I'll sort of downgrade that horse just a little bit in their next start, because the likelihood that a horse is going to get that kind of trip twice in a row is not that high.
What were your thoughts about the South Africa, started the career in South Africa? The fact that they brought in the jockey from overseas, to me, was a little bit intriguing. One Stripe for Graham Motion. Yeah, I mean, I think the initial plan, at least for Graham Motion, was to go back to John Velasquez. But by the time the allowance race went for One Stripe, after a pretty brutal trip in terms of tactics in the Breeders' Cup Mile, Johnny had already committed to riding for Shug in the race. And so the ownership obviously is South African. Gavin Lorena, 39-year-old rider in South Africa, who's very familiar with One Stripe, rode him on numerous occasions. He's won 2,600 races in his career. He was the champion jockey for the last season in South Africa, rode 25% winners. He's a very talented rider. We haven't heard of him here. He's never had him out in the United States, and he won't have one before Saturday. He tried to get on some races in the undercard unsuccessfully. But he's going to take the horse back a little bit off the pace, which is the way he ran in the allowance race, the way he likes to run. And he, as you saw, he was very visually impressive when he won that allowance race. Looked really, really good. So to me, program trading is the horse to beat. But if you're looking for an alternative at a much better price, to me, One Stripe is the most logical alternative there. And talk a little bit about program trading. As I say, I put him on top as well. But, one win in 5 starts over the past couple of seasons isn't crazy inspiring, but it looks like the horse is clearly talented, and on the numbers maybe has a little bit of an edge. What are your thoughts on program trading? Yeah, I mean, he's had some layoff gaps because he had some issues like a lot of these horses do. He was off for more than a year before he came back in Saratoga in the Bernard Baruch. But you look at his past performances. I mean, he won the Hollywood Derby narrowly. That's a grade 1. He won the Turf Classic at Churchill Downs the race before the Kentucky Derby in 2024. That's a grade 1. He ran in the Manhattan after that. That's a grade 1. He was beaten in the Keeneland Turf Mile before the Breeders' Cup by 3/4 of a length, but by Rhetorical, who was really hot at that point. That's a grade 1. So he's been keeping very good competition, and he's been running very well even when he loses in those races. Now in the Breeders' Cup, the original plan was not to run him in the Breeders' Cup. The original plan was to wait for the Pegasus Turf and come into this race, really, really fresh. But the more Chad Brown looked at the Breeders' Cup field in the mile, he thought, we can't beat, I don't think we can beat Notable Speech, but nothing else in there really scares me that much. And I think we have a really good shot at running second, right? The horse was 1 for 1 at Del Mar. And why not give it a shot? And what happened was, in that race, Flavian followed Notable Speech, the big favorite, all the way around the second turn, down on the inside. And Notable Speech tipped out and found a nice seam, and program trading got stopped cold. So he was 10th in the Breeders' Cup. He probably could have been 3rd, maybe even 2nd with a better trip, but he was completely stopped. And yet he still runs a 93, buyer speed figure. So definitely on numbers, on form, Flavian Pratt, if you like the jockey angle, I mean, he's the horse to beat, but he's going to be reasonably solid favorite, I think. Yeah. Again, one of the interesting stakes on a day full of very fun kind of competitive fields. And that includes the highlight of the day, the Pegasus World Cup Invitational Grade 1 event, $3 million up for grabs. 9 furlongs the trip. I'm interested to hear your thoughts here. I'd taken a little pop against Disco Time. I have that one down in the mix, but faces older for the first time. Off the last couple of races, and that number in the Dwyer, certainly the one to beat for Brad Cox. But I'm going with another horse that, a fairly newly turned 4-year-old, Tapan Street. I put that one on top. I pulled up the 4-year-old, or the end of the 3-year-old season victory, middle of December down at Gulfstream. This is number 3, Tapan Street, getting it done at a short price. Both of these have the potential to move now into the handicap division and make some noise this year, but the entire field is interesting. Full Serrano, I thought, was intriguing for John Sadler. I'm really intrigued to see what White Barrio does, with his situation over the last few months and workout reports and whatnot. Very much intrigued. I think he may be up against it with the post position as well. But your thoughts in the Pegasus?
Yeah, on paper, to me, Seth, it looked like a 2-horse race between Disco Time and White Barrio. But White Barrio is definitely not coming into this year's Pegasus as favorably as he came into last year's Pegasus. He was scratched from the prep, the designated prep, the Mr. Prospector this year, the same one he used a year ago. Now they explain that away by saying that, they just entered to see what the field was going to be like while they were trying to decide. And they ultimately decided that he didn't need the prep, that he could train up to the race and be just fine. And they want to run him in the Dubai World Cup, so they don't want to do too much before they explained it away. But now the horse hasn't run since August, right? And that was in the ill-fated Jockey Club Gold Cup when he carried 2 jockeys for a little while, the first 16th of a mile because of the spill. And then, of course, he was scratched by the veterinarians at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile very controversially. So it just hasn't, he hasn't come into this race in such a manner that would just, fill you with a whole lot of confidence. So then, that kind of left me with Disco Time. But there is the one thing about this race, even with the scratch of Mataket Road, I think there's going to be a pretty healthy pace in here, a pretty robust pace. Full Serrano has got to go. He's got an inside draw. He's got post position number 3. They've tried, once they set him off the pace in the, a couple of times. He's been okay, and he's won a couple of times and run well, sitting just a little bit off the pace. But his best races have come when he's on the engine and from the inside draw. I think that's pretty much kind of what they have to do. But Captain Cook from the Pletcher Barn is coming out of sprint races. He's going to be very forwardly placed with speed. Mika on the outside, he looks like a one-dimensional kind of speed horse. So I think the pace is going to be pretty quick, and that's going to help a horse like Disco Time, who's shown that he doesn't have to have the lead. He can sit from off the pace. It'll help a horse like Tapan Street, honestly, who's going to be in the first group stalking, I would say. He's not going to be too far back. The thing about Tapan Street, you can definitely make a strong case for him, right? He's 4 for 5 or 3 for 4 lifetime. He's the last horse to beat Sovereignty in the Florida Derby at Gulfstream. But I'm a numbers guy, Seth.
Yeah.
And he hasn't run fast races. Even in the Florida Derby, it wasn't a particularly fast race. He's not a particularly willing horse. One of the things you'll notice when you watch him run is that in almost all his races, he has to be ridden really hard from an early point, like going into the second turn. The jockeys really start going to work on him. And it looks like he's not going anywhere, and he just keeps grinding. He doesn't have that much acceleration, but he's got a lot of stamina. And he eventually, more often than not, has managed to get the job done. Those kind of horses don't really wow me that much. He got a 90 buyer speed figure in his comeback race, in his allowance race. He didn't look all that visually impressive, but he never does. So I find it hard in my handicapping style. I find it hard to like him.
Yeah, and I'm right with you on I'm a numbers guy too. I say all the time, the buyers are only a tool in the toolbox, but for me, it's an important tool. And I would have liked to seen him come back from the long layoff, maybe moving his buyer forward a little bit. He didn't do that, but he got it done in fashion that, length victory. So I'm giving a little bit of a pass and hope we move forward here, but he clearly does have to move forward on the numbers.
Yeah, but it really, to me, and disco time is probably going to be 8 to 5.
Yeah.
Right? But you look at the competition. I mean, British Isles, is he good enough? I don't think so. Full Serrano, if he wins his best race, he gets the effort he likes. He'd be a real legitimate contender in here. But Vanishing's probably not his best at 1.125. Skippy Longstocking is decent. He's good. He's in with a shot. But Madaket Road's out. We talked about Tapan Street. Poster, probably not good enough. Captain Cook at 1.125, questionable. Mika, is he going to get his front running trip in here with Full Serrano and Captain Cook that was inside? Wida Barrio, we talked about him. Ruther Kinney doesn't seem to be good enough. So almost by default, I think Disco Time is going to wind up being a pretty solid favorite in there.
Yeah, I agree. You with the speed and the rail and the numbers over the last couple of starts, he's going to take some action. Which, if Tapan Street holds up to the morning line of 6-1, I rolling the dice a little bit. I'll take that. But fun race on a fun card overall. And again, you'll be part of the team NBC kicking off the first racing tour with a couple of races from the Pegasus on Saturday afternoon. Randy, appreciate the visit. As always, wish you and everybody down there a lot of good luck. Have a fun afternoon, and we'll talk again.
Nice to see you again. Take care, Seth.
Appreciate it.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park with great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Again, thanks to Tom Bellhouse and Randy Moss for taking some time. Taped those interviews yesterday. Covered a little bit of Eclipse and also a little preview of some of the Gulfstream action today, which will be great. Let me remind you once again, however, with weather in a big swath of the country, including our area, with very cold temperatures today, there are some cancellations. Earlier, I think I said Northfield was out of the mix today. That's Northfield at this point still going. So, and I know on the sulky side, Northfield's popular with a lot of people. So at this point, Northfield's still in. But those that are on the sidelines, Aqueduct today and tomorrow, they've already announced Aqueduct out, Turfway out today, Charlestown, Hawthorne, Harness, Laurel out of the mix today, as well as Miami Valley. But still plenty of good action. I handicapped, if you go over to the website and get the one sheet, which you can pick up most racing days with selections from a couple tracks from me, and Brian Nadeau has his matrix for Gulfstream on Gulfstream racing days. So again, go to capitalotb.com, click on the handicapping link, look for the handicapper support selections, nice printable sheet. But I did both of the Florida tracks today, Gulfstream and Tampa. I'll be doing those this afternoon here on the network as well. Also, there'll be some fairgrounds in the mix. The usual suspects without some of the usual suspects who will be on the sidelines. Again, Gulfstream, Tampa, fairgrounds a little bit later on, Santa Anita. So, again, some of the usuals will be there. And so there will be plenty of fun and plenty of action today. If you're hunkered down at home, trying to stay warm, and that is highly recommended because it is cold out there today. But just stay tuned to the network. There'll be a lot of great racing today, highlighted by Gulfstream Park with a great Pegasus card. Nice stakes action, real skull busters. There should be some value today. And with all eyes focused on that big day down at Gulfstream because of some of the cancellations, the mandatory pay in the Rainbow is going to juice up nicely. And it is a mandatory pay today. A lot of times on big weekends, they'll have it on Sunday, the day after. But this week, the mandatory in the Rainbow is today. So keep that in mind down at Gulfstream as well. Again, should be a fun day. I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. And again, we're early today because 11 a.m. post time down at Gulfstream. Keep that in mind. And I checked in yesterday, and I'm looking at my monitor up here, and it looks like they're about to. Looks like they're doing the national anthem. They're going to kick off the pregame show down at Gulfstream in just a couple of minutes. So we'll wrap it up and get you down there to get some thoughts. I'm not sure who's on the desk today, but it'll be some combination of, Brian, Ron, or Samantha, and they'll all be plugged in during the afternoon. So that should be fun. Don't forget Players Bankroll here at the Clubhouse Racebook today. If you want to venture out and enjoy the action down here, maybe have a little extra fun this afternoon. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Otherwise, Seth Merrow wrapping it up for a Saturday morning. Thanks for tuning in a little bit early. Oh, and don't forget, programming note, if you tuned in on Friday, you saw the first edition of our new Derby preview show. That'll be every Friday, so keep that in mind. We had a nice discussion with Jeremy Plonk the other day, kind of setting the table and going over some of the horses to watch as we make our first steps on the Derby trail. And if you didn't see it Friday, you can catch it on our YouTube channel. It was a nice discussion with Jeremy, but that'll be every Friday at 10 a.m. Derby preview. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., regular time for Racing Across America on the Sunday edition. But as far as our early Saturday edition, let's wrap it up. Let's put a bow on it and send you down to Gulfstream for their pregame show. I'll be back in, again, with an 11 a.m. post time, back an hour or so, OTB live for a Saturday morning into the afternoon. We'll see you then. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March.